I'm here to talk to you about Valuegraphics, which is a new form of profiling audiences that talks to you about how to motivate people to get them to do what it is you want them to do. We call ourselves market motivation advisors, and that's because as we focus primarily on that as opposed to demographics or psychographics, this new thing we've invented called Valuegraphics. A few professional filters about myself. I built and sold my own company over the course of 12 years. We are marketing specialists. We work primarily in the real estate development industry, and we worked all over the world on major projects. We worked on resorts and residential and commercial and land and all kinds of different things that we worked on all over the world. On a personal level, I live in an urban condo downtown. I collect art. I'm a journalist by training, so words are a very important thing to me. And I spend a lot of my time and attention trying to figure out how to bring these two worlds together. And that space in between is how my company is formed. Now, my company formed primarily because of these objective response. I needed an objective response to some of the subjective frustrations I was feeling, spending 20 years standing in front of a room full of people and selling them my ideas with no data. So my ideas were falling to the wayside because somebody didn't like them. Someone's wife doesn't like green. This isn't a great way for us to move forward around talking to anybody, planning anything, or building anything. So along with myself, I took a social scientist, a sociologist, PhD. We spent a year, and we've done 40,000 surveys across Canada and the United States. The number's now up to 60,000. We asked 340 different questions about what people value, want, need, and expect. So we have this giant database of what motivates people to do things, and we call it the motivation database. And for any product and any service, any category, any industry, we can extract information from the motivation database and tell you what you need to say in order to get people to think and do what you want them to do. We call it a Valuegraphics profile. So really what a Valuegraphics profile helps you understand is what's the most motivating values that your target audience shares in common around any product, service, brand, in any industry. So this was my answer. This is the objective way to start thinking about creative decisions. It's multifunctional. This information works in HR, it works in construction, it works in all kinds of different parts of an organization. We've taken the database and brought it into 10 different target audiences, 10 valuegraphic profiles, we call these. And so they deal with everything from groups like we're going to examine today who are primarily motivated by environmental issues, to groups that are motivated by loyalty and groups that are motivated by creativity. So all kinds of different core values are broken up into our database. Why that's important, if you look at baby boomers and ask them about those 340 different values that we've tested on, they only agree with each other 13% of the time. Our groups agree with each other as much as 89% of the time. So who would you rather spend $1 trying to talk to? The people who are going to agree or the people who are going to disagree? I think those age-based demographics are over. So what we've done is brought science and data to a field that was formerly run by guesswork and intuition. I'm going to share with you today some information about one of these groups that your conference is particularly focused on. We call this group the Environmental Assembly. They represent 17% of the entire population of Canada and the United States. Their primary motivator around every decision they make, large and small, is what is it going to do to the planet? They agree on everything, all 340 variables, 82% of the time. That's remarkable. Remember, boomers only agree 13% of the time. So talking to this group, here's some things we know about them. They share an extreme concern for the environment, and for them it's very personal. This is not a large-scale problem that needs to be fixed. This is about what I can do today on a personal level. I take full responsibility for what I've done, and I want to have ways given to me that I can fix the problems that I see around me. They highly value family of all kinds. Now, family these days is a bit of a loaded word. Yes, it does mean your immediate family, your extended family, but your family of friends, your family of coworkers, the other stakeholders involved in any particular project. There are all kinds of different families, and they have a large amount of motivation around making sure these family groups stay together and are all motivated by the same things. They're very motivated, in addition, by spiritual, physical, emotional health and well-being. They are not interested in things that are not about health and well-being. Trying to get them to be involved in your project on some basis other than how they're going to be feeling better as a result of involvement is barking up the wrong tree. They are not, interestingly, politically motivated. Most of the people in this group, remember, 17% of the population have never voted. These are not people who see politics or politicians as a solution to any of the problems facing the planet, any of the environmental issues. So don't try and use political appeals when you're talking to them to get them involved in whatever your project is. Oddly, out of all the 10 groups that we surveyed or that we have in our 60,000 person database, all 340 different variables, they have the most family money and therefore the lowest debt. They can afford a premium for green products and services if their values are motivated properly. They also believe very strongly in higher education and are very likely to have a higher education degree of some sort of their own. Now what's interesting, huge opportunity alert here, 15% of them will admit that they don't know what to do about how to be more environmentally sensitive. They like education, there's a gap, they want to be educated on a personal level. How can I change my behavior? This was also a little bit of an outlier for me when I found this out looking through the data. They're not so interested in social media. And in fact, if you think about the number of environmental organizations and groups out there who are relying on social media as a way to communicate, this group says, send me direct mail, of all things. An old-fashioned medium like direct mail is their preference. Momentum helps. They like to be part of a group that's headed in a direction. Remember, they like family of all kinds. Carrots help. They like rewards. They like prizes as much as the next guy. Shame does not work. Keep things positive, keep things upbeat, but they love, like everybody does, a really good round of applause. And that's your cue. So I understand now it's time for some questions. Does anybody would like to ask me some questions about this? There's a lot of information to take in.
I have a question.
Yes?
Where do millennials fit into all this? Where do they stack up in that?
This is a great question. The question is, where do millennials stack up into this situation? The whole point of this research, in fact, one of the things that set us out to do this was to prove that generational target audiences are no longer effective. In fact, they're counterproductive. So boomers, millennials, Generation X, Generation Y, when you look at the data, they don't resemble each other at all. There's no point in trying to target a message at a generational cohort. And if you think about it in terms of your own personal experience, imagine a room full of people who are all 51 and a half years old. How similar are they going to be to each other? Probably not at all. Look at your own friends and family group. How many different ages are represented? You're all friends and family because you have shared values. So if we use values as a way to motivate people, in this case, this value, the primary value for this particular cohort is environmental concern. I can tell you 340 different things about what they like, what they don't like, what their values, wants, needs, and expectations are around all kinds of different products and services. So age is over. My line is, the age of age is over. Stop thinking about age, stop thinking about generations. All those stereotypes of different age cohorts are all ridiculous. Nobody acts their age anymore. We don't have to anymore. Any other questions? Yes?
So you end up targeting a group of like thinkers.
Yes.
But you can believe in something and still not have hope in it. Right? So was there a factor of those like thinkers that thought that the solution was unachievable?
In this particular case, for this particular audience, what we call the environmental assembly, these folks are primarily motivated by some desire to see what they can do on a personal level to make things better. They wouldn't be in this group if they didn't think there was a chance that they could make things better. So your question was, are there any hopeless people inside this group? Are there people who have just thrown their hands up in despair and said, this is not going to work no matter what we do? The answer is no. They wouldn't be a part of this group unless they thought there was some sort of change that could be effective. And I guess my message, my takeaway for all of you today is don't do this based on age. Whatever stakeholder group you're talking to, business to consumer, make this about shared values. Make this about something that they all believe in common, not about how old they are or when their birthday was. That's counterproductive at best. Maybe time for one more question. I know we're really snacking here. I have 3.5 minutes left. This is crazy. I could probably get 2 questions. I got one more question. Okay, one more question, I'm told. It's like an auction. One more, 2 more, 3 more. One more question. Who's got one more question for me? Right over here.
You said that 70% the environment is only one factor. Does it correlate to some other like you said, education, another correlation besides that?
Oh, there's 340 different correlations. What's remarkable is that 82%, so 17% of the entire population in Canada and the United States list environmental concern as their #1 motivator, consciously and subconsciously. We've asked them 340 questions about finance, travel, insurance, food, love, sex, relationships, family, money, all this stuff. 82% of the time, when they've told us that the environment is their primary concern, they agree on 82% of all that other stuff. Boomers only agree 13% of the time. The boomers are an anti-group. They're not even a group. That means 87% of the time, boomers disagree on everything. So why would you try and target a message at a group of people who disagree on everything? Go for the environmentalists. Go for one of these Valuegraphic groups who agree on things. Our worst one is 76% agreement on 340 different variables. Our best one is 89. So we've got an 82% alignment on every aspect of life. If you've told me the environment is your primary concern, your primary motivator. These are powerful, powerful groups. So remember this term, Valuegraphics. Demographics are fine, psychographics are interesting. Valuegraphics is how you actually motivate more people to do what you'd like them to do more often.